Hello there, and welcome to Sith Happens, a Star Wars podcast. I am Eric the Dadalorian, and thank you for joining us today. I'm joined by a guy whose fantasy involved the light whips and the binders in Star Wars. He's also the High to my Republic. I know him as Matty Ice, but you might know him better on Instagram, especially if you're watching us live as Black Series Daily Desk. Matt, how you doing, brother?
Boy, am I doing good as the Yord to your Fondar. I am. Whew, we got to talk about this show. First of all, thank you everybody who's joining in on the live stream right now. This was kind of a mad decision that we made about a week and a half ago, and we were like, "Fuck it, we'll do it live," which is the title of our last episode. And we just wanted to really like the enthusiasm for this, knowing it's coming out at a time when we can both watch it in our time zones. It just felt like it was right, just at least for the premiere. To talk about 100%. It right after, immediate reactions. For those of you that watched the live stream last night, we did on Instagram. Obviously, expectations could not have been higher. And I'm just going to come out there and say, expectations exceeded.
Blown the fuck out of the water. Not exceeded. Down. Blown the fuck out of the water.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so funny. Right before the show, I watched with my wife. Usually the shows as they come out. She also watches with me for my note taking session, which we don't have. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see what you and I can remember, which will be interesting. But the minute it started, she was like, "I might fall asleep. I'll rewatch it tomorrow." The minute it started, she was sitting up, ready to go. It was energizing, man. God damn, what a start to a TV series that we've been waiting for so long.
No fucking lie, man. So I was blown away by both episodes in their entireties. Like, there was not 1 second where I was like, kind of like bored in it. Like, the whole thing just grabbed my fucking attention.
Talk about, Star Wars shows always have a little bit of a pacing issue. It's either too choppy and too fast, a little bit too slow, or when it's really good, the next time you get kind of a slow, or like this, the pacing, the editing, it felt like a movie.
It really felt like a movie.
It felt like a movie. The editing, the way they cut up the action, the way they went back and forth. And I think the biggest thing, and let's just get it out there, everybody, spoiler alerts. If you're watching this live stream, I would assume you knew this was going to be spoilers. For those that are going to listen to the cast, spoiler alert.
Yes.
They never showed you the main character in the trailers or with the toys. Let's just talk about that misdirect.
Yes.
Let's just say you didn't even know what this show was really about.
And that was the wild thing with today, man. So, and for those of you guys watching us on the podcast versus the live, we're doing this a little bit more sporadically than we normally do. So we apologize in advance just because, like, honestly, we're both hyped out of our fucking minds from watching this thing. Like, I'm just coming out, like I said, blowing my expectations. And like you said, the main character, I had no idea which way it was going with this. So now that we know him, just like, holy shit, didn't know any of this.
No, absolutely. And it was so funny. It started and they said Osha. And my wife was like, "What a cool name, Osha." And I was like, "Her name's May." And she was like, "They just said Osha like 4 times."
I thought the same thing.
And I started like running it in my head, and I was like, "Oh my god, what if there's another character?" Like we kind of started, it unfolded. Collecting the action figures in the pre-order really was like a little bit of a part of that. But oh my god, what a misdirect! And I think that like the hype from everybody that saw the screenings, that hype was 100% real.
Yes.
I'm very curious, and we've been talking a lot about it, and I don't want to get into it right now. Let's focus on the happy, if people are going to actually eat their words on this. Because it was something that was completely next level. It was something that was so good. And, like, again, just what you saw in the trailers, even the way that most shows, the trailers are sort of the first 2 episodes, and you're out of what you've seen, right? But this... Giving you plenty you hadn't seen, giving you plenty of interesting stuff.
I think it gave us
very interesting.
I think the biggest thing we had seen, and we'd seen pretty much like everything from the trailers in these first 2 episodes. I think the biggest thing that we haven't seen yet was that initial confrontation with whoever the dark side master is at this point with all the Jedi and everything. And that's still to come. And I'm really looking forward to that. But
yeah, and I'm glad they're making us wait for it. And I'm also glad that you find out they pretty much believe Osha right off the bat or in the second episode.
Listen, I'm going to come out and say it. Yord is an asshole.
He's an asshole, but he's going to have an arc. and
He's
he's
gonna
either
have
going
an
to
arc, I
die. He's
hope,
going
but
to
he's a
die
bit of an
heroic.
asshole.
He's going to die heroically doing something, or end up kind of rising to the challenge. We have to remember it's these young characters.
Yeah,
What's really funny is understanding we weren't going to see that Sith Lord. It kind of became clear as the episode was
yeah,
going on. Had we not seen that scene with the Sith, we'll call him a Darksider. We don't know if he's a Sith Lord. With that
yeah.
Darksider, I would have thought they might have killed Soul this episode because I remember, and I
Dude,
brought this
they
up.
better not. He really quickly became my favorite.
I don't know, man. I'm a Yord guy. No, I'm just
Man, fuck you. I knew I didn't like you.
you know us Yordlers. But no, so
Yordlers.
the
Yordelay.
Yordiacs, Fondarians. But dude, it was, and he's awesome. And the thing that I thought was so cool that they did was when you saw his power, especially compared to like Indara's, like
Yeah.
this is like full Jedi, not diluted. You know, the politics you can see are starting. Where they talk about their political enemies when Bernestra says that, but these are like full blown Jedi.
Yeah.
Like height of, we're getting towards the end of the Golden Age. Some of these folks were there in the middle of it.
Mhm.
And I had an interesting theory because especially Soul, his power is like insane. When he got her knives, like the way that worked. You notice that he and Yord were wearing those gloves
Yes.
with the metal. I wonder if, like, think about like Vader, how Vader, he had no hands, but they gave him those two metal hands that could help him concentrate the Force. What if that metal is what's on the outside of those gloves? So it kind of heightens them a little bit more. And I feel because those gloves are really stand out, right? Because you're used to the Jedi, bare hand. You think about the action figures, and I noticed those gloves on the action figures. You think about the action figures, and like it's always barehanded. And when I saw that Soul action figure, I was like, interesting with the gloves. Are those like battle adornments? But I like the idea that they do something to help channel the Force. I mean, even when she falls off the cliff, he catches her without looking.
Yeah, that like
she's below the lip.
That's like I think a big thing we've seen so far is like just the Force powers of these Jedi versus the stuff we see come in the prequel era, even and stuff like that. It is just so far surpassed what we had seen so far, and like, I mean, everything we've seen from this, it's like I said, so quickly became my favorite, man. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. Him and Jackie, I like their dynamic and everything. So I'm really loving that. But dude, I honestly don't even know what to say because I was just so blown away.
So I'll keep going because I was noting thoughts. So I think the other thing is a part of me. Maybe it's not the gloves. Maybe it's the gloves. Maybe, but they're sitting on that Jedi temple, right? They've got the Force flowing through it through the galaxy. This is before Palpatine activated that Sith mantle.
Yeah,
underneath the temple because that was a Sith temple. So it could just simply be they're not clouded, right? They're not kind of in this weird in between where the Force is clouded. And I think it's really interesting to see Jedi of that era. And I know people have complained about how the robes look. Robes look fantastic.
I was going to say the same thing. They look great.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the really cool thing about it overall, and like, sorry guys, usually Eric and I have like questions prepared. This is a geek out episode, so
yes,
we're just going to go for as long as we can go and see where it takes us without our usual script. A thing in my apartment we were talking about was it feels sci-fi, but then it also, even the music and the beats feel uniquely Star Wars. And it's just different enough that it feels fresh. But what I like about it is it harkens back to when you saw the prequels because it's familiar, but it's fresh.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that was really something special on it. It felt a lot like you're checking in on Star Wars. The score, phenomenal, right on the money. Almost using the Star Wars theme a few times, never hitting the Force theme, which I think is really good.
Yeah,
and like I want that from that different time. Give me different movements. So it's familiar. It's like it's Star Wars. The way the music worked was Star Wars. The way the way that it looked, there was a Star Wars element, but then there's also this weird little other going on. And I think that's again like we saw some of those reviews where people said it's sort of it combats the franchise fatigue.
Yeah.
Some people may be feeling of every era, and it's really encouraging because it's just it felt so you wanted to like jump up when it was over. And when you saw Kelneka, come on, I was thinking, like, how are they going to stick the landing on the second episode? And I love that it's 4 Jedi they have to kill. So you've got the first 2, and that's probably going to walk you through the first 4 episodes, would be my hope. And we know Vernestra ignites that light whip in a forest. So does she end up on KOTOR? And is that where they face that Darksider?
Yeah, it's honestly, man. There's a lot of speculation on what to come up, but I think the best thing we could do is just break it down from what the best scenes from what we saw today, going through it. So
let's do it.
Just going right into the beginning of it. There, I hated that you were right in that Indara basically dies right off the get go. So
that was a gimme. Come on,
I was hoping not.
For like 2 months.
I know, but I was hoping. I was like, damn, they did Trinity dirty, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put money on that against you because I don't want to take your hard-earned loot. I knew.
But anyways, the fight scene itself was really great. I thought kind of like them giving her a different weapon rather than a blaster, the throwing knives. I thought that was like really cool. It's not something we've seen in Star Wars, and it like like we've talked about this whole time, it gave like that kung fu vibe to it, right? It was like throwing stars or something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was sick. The fight was very clean, very well done. And then when she kills her at the end, and when it leads up to where it gets to Asha at that point, it was not what I expected. I'm like, okay, are they gonna have like a flip in personalities or something like that? And like, no, it's 2 separate people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, But before we even get past the first scene, right?
Yeah,
those metal blades almost like disintegrating on the lightsaber.
Yeah.
With that, I mean, looking at those Cantina aliens, they were awesome. The thing with the bartender, and I loved what I thought was a really good choice was May doesn't kill the barkeep because she sees the little girl, and that builds that. Not only does that build conflict in her, but when you meet Osha, and Osha is seemingly so kind, you're like, oh wait, maybe she was hypnotized. How did she get there? How long after that is this?
Yeah.
And when the Jedi show up, you're like, oh, that was really quick, and you start to piece it together, and like the mystery is what happened that caused all this to start, and who that Darksider is. It's not a whodunit. And I like that a lot because it's making it more interesting. And I think they're resolving a lot. That's just like, let's just get through it. And that's that pacing thing. And I love getting into that intro to Osha. I mean, come on, Pip fucks. Pip's great sidekick.
We had a couple people comment in. My boy, the Dad Vader, said that was a total Hollywood movie, and it did show the Jedi way to protect life, which gets us into an interesting question later on. And you know what? That's true because, with Indara, she sees May about to off this other guy, and basically knows that she's gonna die, saving his life and everything.
Yeah.
And it really was that old school Jedi way of thinking, and that, and I think you see the old school way of Jedi in Soul, Indara, and then you kind of start seeing that new Jedi where like they start to fall in Vernestra so far.
Yeah, and I think Yord.
Yord for sure.
The hubris, right? And I think that's all a part of the temple being activated, feeding that on itself. And I think, absolutely. And I think, and I don't know, Dad Vader, if this is where you're going with this, the interesting question for me later on, feel free to continue typing, because we're happy to make this really conversational on our first live.
Yes.
The thing for me is what happened that feels like those 4 characters, especially the 2 that we know a little bit more about so far, which is like, which is Soul and Indara. What did they do that deviated so much? Like, what happened that started that fire? Like, did they blame May? Could they have saved more people and they made the choice of getting Osha out because she was lowest hanging fruit? And Dad Vader, I see what you're saying. They don't raise the saber unless they're going to kill. So that's great, actually, because think of how quickly Yord rips that saber out.
Yeah.
So again, you talk about the fall, the hubris, 100%, and I think that's really cool.
Did they see darkness and Luke it? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that's a damn good way to put it.
Hey, listen, Luke had a darkness moment. I have a weird headcanon thing about that. We'll cover another time for listeners. But yeah, I mean, that could very well be it. And I think that's part of this mystery as it unfolds. And we're going to get
Yes.
really an interesting sort of moment there. And I knew that I would like this, but I can't believe how excited I was. And I know we're kind of trying to rip through the
Yeah.
episodes, so just even continuing on ripping through the episode a little bit. The next time when you meet Osha, when she gets arrested and she's on that prison ship,
Yeah.
I love the way they did those aliens again, and the prisoners felt very Star Wars. The way
They
that
did.
it felt very Star Wars. It felt super interesting. The score was really good. The kind of rugged rogueness, laughter you got in that scene with some of those characters, even with the parasite, it was cool. And
yeah, all the pieces of that particular scene were really great. Even the part of her, trying, like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna let this happen because I trust the Jedi. So she still has that respect and for them and everything like that. So it was interesting to see it go that way. And then the crash scene with the Vision, that was some trippy shit.
that was dude, that was some trippy shit. But I think my favorite part of that whole scene was the droids that turn into chairs.
Yeah.
That got a tremendous laugh from me. Like, I was just like, but that Vision, the poetry, like that they were saying. I know there was a big thing, and maybe this is a High Republic thing that for the light and the life that everybody or whatever that's getting quoted all the time. Is that from the books?
I'm still only on that first book. I'm making my way through Light of the Jedi. I don't think I've seen that in there yet. It could come in later on, but that's like something I've been seeing a lot of as well. So I think we'll see that later on.
Yeah.
Dad Vader said the blackout eyes was deep, and that was real shit. Like that got real. And I think that's part of the cool part about this is it's, they said the whole time it was going to be like a mystery thriller, and it was. It had like almost like some horror vibe to it with that type of shit, and it was really great.
Well, interestingly enough, with regard to that, if you go back to the trailer, I believe you see Master Torben and what now I feel like absolutely has to be a flashback.
Yeah.
You see Master Torben get his eyes with that cult, get his eyes turn black. So maybe one of the Jedi.
That's right, because the kid from Game of Thrones must play a younger version of him then.
Yeah. So I think that could be it. Like, that could be an interesting, because maybe they were kind of hypnotized into it, whatever happened or whatever they did, and that's something that's being held against them by Osha, which I think could be really interesting. And I mean, I have no idea. My vote originally was that Indara was going to be the dark sider. Remember, I told you, what if it's that, and it was all fun. But alas, I'll eat my words on that one. Can't be right all the time, but that was super cool, and I think that's going to come into play with that cult. And I was kind of like, I wanted to see more of them, but I think that's going to be a flashback thing now.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be something like who the dark side user is going to be at this point is still kind of up in the air. But I don't even know if they're going to be classified Sith because the Sith with the rule of two, they were so secretive and they didn't come out really until Palpatine. So, and I don't see them doing that. And I don't think the showrunners would do that as kind of like a disrespect to the series of them doing everything like that. It seems like it's a rogue entity kind of doing their own thing and everything. I
agree. And he's trying to make her their apprentice.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the idea that she's got to kill one of the four without a weapon is extremely cool. And the way in the second episode you find out that they didn't want to talk about them using the poison.
Yeah,
it's very interesting too. Like, is that honorable? Is that dishonorable? Because is it just that's weakness, right? Using the poison's not the violent way out that they intended. Mm-hmm. Which, when you think about other Sith Lords and poison and Plagueis and all of that type of stuff, that clearly changes. So
there's worse way to go. There's worse ways to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, that the first episode, loved it. Getting through the whole arc with her going through her vision and everything like that, and then Soul coming into finding her in the cave and saving her on the ledge there. I thought it was great, and you could really feel the relationship the two had at that point. And honestly, JJ just killed Soul, dude. So I know English is not his first language, and I know he still struggles a little bit. He absolutely killed the like was able to execute the lines perfectly, and then you felt real emotion from him in these scenes. Like it was so great. That's why part of the reason why he became such a favorite for me so quick. So
Yeah.
it was fantastic. And then that end scene with the first episode of the dark side user on the rocks there igniting the saber. It's like, who is this motherfucker?
Can I talk about the saber ignition? Because to me, that's probably the only thing I would have changed. I love the idea of him
I
on the
thought
rock.
it was cool, man. I don't
Well, it's
know.
like at the end of Solo when Maul just like ignites his lightsaber like that when he's talking to Kira. It's like, all right, we fucking get it. That's like if I had a gun and I was just spinning it all the time. Like, guess
the
what? I'm a bad guy. I
the dad
understand the need for it.
the dad Vader said, I forgot the guy with the hookup on Poison's name. I think it's Quimera or something like that, but he could be the master. That was actually a theory put out there initially as well, and I don't think so. It's not impossible, but I don't think so. I think we'll see later on. I don't know. I just don't think so. But
Yeah,
we did get that note of you couldn't tell me even if you wanted. So yeah,
yeah.
it is
They're
true.
making them they're making them dangerous. That Sith Lord, the
Very.
Dark Sider. I'm going to say Sith Lord until we know it's not Sith Lord, the Dark Sider, and that is I think so funny. Last night, when I was falling asleep. Sorry, Eric, I blew it, and I watched a little Star Wars content. I tried. I didn't debunk. That's the debunk. I didn't make it. I was actually watching the history of the Sith species, and there is
That's
such
a
a
good one.
cool, yeah, it's a cool background with the alchemy and how isolated they were.
Yeah.
They had all these alchemic weapons, and that essentially, like the way it split off, and the experimental Sith beings they made ended up kind of being
Mhm.
not pureblood Sith, but like we think of as Sith. And it's interesting because they went away. Obviously, the Sith Empire was destroyed, but there was really an element of like different malevolence, like existing in the
Yes.
shadows, but that power over people. And maybe that's what they're talking about. That she couldn't tell him if she wanted to.
Yeah, and there is that real mystery behind it, who this person is, and like you feel the tension behind it, and I can't wait till next week already. It's
Yeah,
going to be fantastic. And kind of closing out into that, getting into that second scene with them going to hunt down her sister. Well, didn't even realize they were initially going to be hunting down her sister.
yeah,
But
right.
they
Again,
get to
that
the
misdirect.
yeah,
Didn't even
and
know
then
what the show was about.
seriously, so they get to the they get to the Jedi temple there. The scene where she was trying to penetrate the dude's force shield like that, I thought that was so like I thought it was cool because like we hadn't really seen that as a force use from them before. We saw we've seen them meditate, but we haven't seen somebody in Star Wars meditate to the point they have a force shield around them that is just completely fucking impenetrable.
How long did they say? Like, was it 10 years, 16
10
years, or
years, I
something like
think
that?
so.
With his legs up? Jesus, I can't sit at my desk for 45 minutes and I need to do a lap. Those
The
rascally Jedi it's like the standing desk from hell that he's doing. Um, but yeah, that was so cool. And I like the idea that maybe that kind of developed over time as he
Yeah.
was in there. And when she kind of came through, the way he accepted the poison torment,
Yes.
like that's really the mystery that we thought this was going to be is who is the Dark Lord that they're going against, or
Yeah.
who is the cause of all this. And what the mystery ended up being, get awesome misdirect. I'm going to keep saying that because it was so cool. Is what did the Jedi do to invoke this from this young girl that was then able to be preyed upon by
Yeah.
this dark sider? And I think that that's like really going to be. I love it. I love that we
So
went in with
I
certain expectations, and it was like they didn't even tell you what the show was about. Nope, didn't get an idea.
so I got a theory on it. So we everything so far said that May started the fire. So what I'm thinking it was she started the fire and they had the ability to potentially save only one and they saved her. May went the whole time thinking that her sister was dead anyways. And then she's trying to take revenge on the Jedi because she thinks that her sister is dead because of the Jedi and everything like
Yeah.
that. So that is.
I think there's more to it. I think
There,
there's something to do.
there
There's
probably is.
something fishy about that fire, and I think interestingly, in the trailer, you see that the black eyes on Torben
Yep.
kind of like develop, and you see that cultish group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and I would assume that's her family. So what if there's more to
Potentially.
it, or more to the betrayal that the Jedi committed upon them to try to maybe stifle something that they thought was
Yeah,
more evil?
maybe.
Or boy, the
And
Dad Vader, they felt the dark and they went Luke. You know.
yes. And we'll find out soon enough. So we got the 2 episodes today, and we got 6 more weeks of this because it's an 8 episode series.
We had a Wookiee snapping a blaster. Don't get too far out of there.
Yeah, that was great. But the whole stakeout scene, and I like that. I like the poison guy, Quimir. I thought it was like nice humor to have in there.
Yeah.
I thought he had some serious scenes, but it was a funny dude to have in there, and I really liked that actually.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever watched the show The Good Place, but that actor's name I think is Manny Jacinto, and he is phenomenal in that show and really funny as this like dumb character. And this character is a little more wily, but I think it's really. I think he's going to be a fun character, and I like that he's sort of, like we said, like, is he the Dark Lord? I think he's a little short compared to what we've seen in the trailers, but where does he fit in? Because he's clearly some kind of agent of chaos or follower, but he also is kind of agent of chaos and follower, but like he also feels like he's not fully in line there. Like he's doing a little bit of his own thing and along for the ride. Like maybe he's the resident anarchist, but his different manifesto than that kid from was it Jarek or whatever from Andor.
Dark Forces.
But, no, from not Jarek from Dark Forces. The name of the kid Nemec or whatever from Andor, who wrote the Rebel Manifesto that Cassian has on his chest, on his right here when you watch Rogue One. But yeah, that kind of different manifesto here, a little more anti everything. He's just an angry young punk listening to the Damned.
But yeah, I thought the whole scene with May and everything, realizing her sister was alive, was really good. And then like that stare down the two had, especially, was really great. And then her holding the blaster, and she missed on purpose. Everybody knows she missed on purpose. And I think Soul even realized that as she got away and everything like that. So
yeah, absolutely. Trying to figure it out. By the way, Dad Vader, I got to call you out on that. Maybe his size is a forced perspective. Where is the Dadalorian with these dad jokes? I think you got to start writing them some bits before the overall episode itself.
Well, listen, it's about 10 o'clock here. Your boy is running on fumes at this point, and even though I was excited as all hell for the show, definitely running on fumes right now.
Oh, for sure. So I know you're trying to wind down. I think let's just do, I have a collector's corner item. I know you kind of do.
Yes.
You can snack. Let's do this. First of all, thank you everybody for joining. Hope you stick around for the next couple minutes to find out who our winner is.
Yes.
Second of all, let's just do our rating real quick. What is your rating of episode 1 and episode 2?
So combining the two, everything I've seen so far, and maybe I might be being a little bit generous with this. I'm going 9 out of 10.
So I think combined 9 out of 10. I think the first episode, it's like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And the second episode is about a 9 out of 10 for me. I think some of it, if we revisit this someday or at the end of the series, maybe that'll change. But I think
potentially.
I think coming off of this episode, we were so excited coming off the finale of The Bad Batch. We were so excited for so many of the things we've watched. Coming out of this episode, I haven't felt this kind of like there was like 5 minutes left in the episode, and I was like, I really am ready for next week. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's honestly like it was so much within it. We learned the characters. We really got to see some great stuff visually. The acting was fantastic, and the story is freaking great. So I mean, what was not to love about it? I absolutely and I'll tell you what, I'll tell this on the live stream, I'll tell this on the podcast. Everybody who said the show was gonna suck, you can kiss my ass now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, the way that I feel about it is, and listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I'm happy to debate with people. Anybody who really, even if maybe you're somebody who didn't love it, you want to give it like a 7 out of 10. Anybody that feels this was anywhere below a 7 as far as Star Wars goes, the casting was perfect. And I know everybody felt like that was pandering. The pacing was great. The writing was excellent. If you did not like this, you're actively trying not to like this at this point, or you just
that's
turned
it.
your back on Disney, and that's fine. Hey, that's how you want to live and just not like the content. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like you said, I fully agree that you do not have to like everything they put out. But at this point, if you are still keeping that same vibe of hating on it the way everybody has, you are just doing that to hate on Disney at this point, and it's time to get the hell over it.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Dad Vader, before we go, said check the question box also for a final question. Did
Oh,
we miss
hold on,
that?
we got this one. I got it here. All right, so yep, we'll finish off with this one. Actually, he kind of came in with this. He said, "Major question: do we like the Jedi robes on our Wookiees, or do we like them nude and rude?"
I was surprised in the trailer he was dressed. I was like, guess he's coming back from his bath.
So I think we can still see him in that. I think he's probably out there living his, living natural as a Wookiee, because they, that's how they are. And then when he has to do his whole Jedi thing, that's when he probably fucking, all right, let me put on the suit and tie.
Yeah, he's like, fine, people are coming. Polite company. But yeah, all right. Well,
Mom, I don't want to dress up.
And by the way, I think they said they weren't going to perfectly have Star Wars. Who said split in the writers' room was great. That's what's making this feel fresh. Feels like I said to close that out, like the prequels, something familiar, but something very new. One dude collector's corner, so you can go to bed. I love how I am my time zone. I have to
well, so before
PM.
Before I do the collector's corner, I do got to give a shout out. So now that we've wrapped up the Acolyte, I'm also excited to announce that SaberMax Lightsabers is coming in fresh on the hype of the show and is actually putting 2 lightsabers on their website from the show. They already had the Indara come out, and I showed that on my website already, or on my Instagram already. Now they added Soul's lightsaber today as well, and this thing looks phenomenal, actually. I will post up a video on my Instagram probably tomorrow for this, so you guys can check it out there, or go to SaberMax's Instagram at SaberMaxSG to check it out. They are available on their website right now, sabermax.store, and we are still using that code, the Dadalorian20, to receive 20% off. So if you guys want to get a lightsaber, now's the time, because after tomorrow, that code is not going to work anymore. Now, following off of that, getting out of Acolyte, we do got some collector's corner stuff, and it's really great stuff. And I think you and I are going to show the same thing. So why don't we just do it at the same time?
Oh, I'm not going to. I may be doing one slightly different. I'm not going to do the one I know you got. I'm going to do the one that I got.
Well, in that case, I'm going to go first. So I got this bad boy.
Got him today, too.
Yeah, so this is and I think I posted up an Instagram picture of this like a couple of days ago. This is the new Droideka from Hasbro. I got to tell you, dude, so I went into GameStop the day before I went there, and I didn't see shit in there. So I was like, oh man, this one never has anything, whatever. I went to Target the next day, and I'm like driving by. I'm like, let me just stop and let me see if they got on something. I picked this up, and the dude was like, that has not been on the shelf for more than 2 hours.
Nice.
So yeah, I picked this up. Obviously, I'm an inbox guy, so it's gonna be staying in here and everything like that. But dude, like, look at this. That thing is just a brick of a Black Series box compared to the other ones. So, but the thing is absolutely awesome. I love this thing. Super happy I got that.
Mine's open, and I can't figure out how to make it get into the little ball configuration. I'm going to have to go look at somebody's YouTube. But what I got, also big release last 2 weeks, my main man, Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Oh, I am jealous of you, bro.
Portrait. Look at the portrait on that figure. Straight up.
Honestly, I'm jealous of you, man. That was the one I went to GameStop looking for, actually.
Well, you know what's a fun thing about this figure, I think, is that, oh, by the way, for those of you that want to follow me on Instagram at Black Series Daily Desk, I already have a picture that's going up tomorrow of those 2 bad boys with my Extreme Sets Dio and some cool stuff from my main man, Lone Wolf Labs, who I hawk all the time on here. As a background, but I was fidgeting with the lightsaber, and look at this little feature.
Hold on.
The hand comes out this way now instead of that plug is popped off, and I was like, no! Oh, and that's going to bode. It's like the Indiana Jones line. That's going to bode really, really well for swapping hands in the future. Maybe some maybe we'll get, wishful thinking a handset for some of the new figures.
That would be sick. I know for you guys on one of our viewers said show it on your phone, by the way, so put it up to your phone as well.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, on the
There we go.
what the hell is it? I forgot I was going with it, but yeah, I think getting those handsets like that would be really sick.
And this was the hand feature I was talking about. If anybody's ever collected the Indiana Jones Adventure Series line, the hands pop off like this and not a plug, which is an interesting change for this line. And the range of motion's not as good, if I'm being totally real with everybody. But that could mean swappable hands in the future, maybe on some upcoming figures. We got Mr. Stevie back in the Black Series line running things, and he loves doing stuff like that. So
true that, man. So
honestly,
stuff to come. I am jealous as a son of a bitch that you found that you got that. I know you do all your stuff pre-order, and I prefer to go out and look for mine.
This pre-order, like they made us wait forever. We knew it was coming into the country from folks like Yakface, and the Subway footlong is on its head, Dad Vader. This one they took forever to let us know the pre-order was coming up. I think it was in May. So it's like late April. So not a long wait for this guy. And I think there's going to be some stuff we'll start seeing that about as well as the supply line continues to fix coming out of, there was a small pandemic for a couple of years.
Yeah, dude, honestly, those were some darker times, but I think we're back in the light at this point. So
he comes from France, Dad Vader, and I will stop it there.
Jesus Christ. All right. But anyway, so that was our good collector show off. Really loved the Chiati, man. I love the Droideka. We both got some really great Black Series this week. But to wrap up this show, we of course need to announce our last raffle winner. Now, Gory Comics was kind enough to send me a bunch of decals, and on this final one, we're giving away 4, one of each of the decals they gave me. So it's going to be one of the Vader with the slash helmet, one of the Darth Maul, and then a Stormtrooper and a Clone Trooper decal. So now I did the... Oh, I can't show it on my phone because we're using my phone. But we did the spin wheel on my phone earlier, and I took a little screenshot of it. And our winner for it was at Danny Fandoms. He's actually a great guy within the community. He does a lot with Star Wars, Marvel, and other stuff. Really recommend you guys go check him out. It is at Danny Fandoms on Instagram. So congratulations, brother. We'll reach out to you, let you get your address and send this out to you and everything like that. But guys, I think that kind of wraps it up for us today. So we want to kind of just say thank you to everybody, whether you are listening on the podcast or whether you're listening on the Instagram Live that we're doing right now. We appreciate you guys coming in and joining us for this, our popping our cherry for that Instagram Live and the and the podcast thing. So hopefully this turns out good when we upload the podcast, and we can try to do this a little bit more often and everything like that. But in the meantime, you guys can follow us on Instagram at Sith Happens _Star Wars podcast. And in there is our link tree, which has a link to our YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. So please go follow us there. And that finishes us up, man. Matt, do you have any final words of wisdom or impart something on us?
Yeah, what a day for a Jedi Knight, and what a night for a Jedi day. Man, what a good episode. What an exciting thing that we're kind of celebrated a little bit, how we're doing it. And I'll just say, first of all, for everybody that tuned into the live, thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you for the engagement. We're going to do more of these as time comes on. And we're excited to, as we grow. So thank you for those that joined for the inaugural. And like I say every time, may the Force be with you always.
And I'm the Dadalorian. This is the way.